Good evening. Tonight we bring you a story that is rapidly reshaping the very fabric of North America, a story that has sent shockwaves through governments, businesses, and households on both sides of the border. The world's longest undefended border, a symbol of peace and cooperation for over a century, is suddenly at the center of a new kind of conflict. But this time, the battleground isn't marked by soldiers or tanks. It's defined by economic sanctions, tariffs, and political brinkmanship. In a move that has stunned diplomats and citizens alike, President Donald Trump has declared what many are calling an economic war on America's closest ally. With the stroke of a pen, he has imposed a sweeping 35% tariff on all Canadian imports, sending shockwaves through the global economy and igniting fierce debate in both countries. This isn't just another trade dispute to be settled quietly behind closed doors. It's a direct threat to a century-old alliance that has weathered wars, depressions, and political upheavals. The prosperity of millions now hangs in the balance as decades of trust and cooperation are put to the ultimate test. The announcement has thrown all of North America into a state of crisis. In Ottawa, government officials scramble to respond, holding emergency meetings late into the night. On Wall Street and Bay Street, traders watch in disbelief as markets tumble and volatility spikes. Across the continent, families and business owners are left wondering what tomorrow will bring. The scale and suddenness of this tariff are unprecedented in the long history of US-Canada relations. What was once the world's most open and friendly border is now a flashpoint of tension and uncertainty, with customs agents bracing for a surge in inspections and delays. Critics from both sides of the border are sounding the alarm, warning of catastrophic consequences. They point to the risk of soaring inflation, broken supply chains that could leave store shelves empty, and factories forced to close their doors. The ripple effects could be felt in every sector, from agriculture to technology, and in every community, large and small. Beyond the economic fallout, there's a growing fear of a diplomatic rift that could last for generations. Once strong ties between leaders are now strained, and the spirit of partnership that defined the US-Canada relationship is under threat like never before. Around the world, allies are watching with concern, and adversaries are taking careful notes. The question on everyone's mind: if such a rupture can happen between these two nations, what alliance is truly safe in today's volatile world? Over the next hour, we'll break down what this crisis means for you, your family, and the future of both nations. We'll hear from experts, affected workers, and everyday citizens whose lives are being upended by this historic standoff. One thing is clear: the world as we know it has changed overnight. The road ahead is uncertain, and nothing will ever be quite the same again. To grasp today's crisis, we must understand the partnership it threatens. The US and Canada share more than a border. They share a deeply intertwined economic destiny. Over $2 billion in goods and services cross daily, supporting millions of jobs. Landmark agreements like NAFTA created a vast free trade zone, making supply chains continental. A single car's parts may cross the border multiple times before assembly. Disputes have flared over lumber, dairy, steel, but were mostly contained. Today's tariff is different. It's sweeping, indiscriminate, and spares no sector. From oil to maple syrup, every industry is hit. This move abandons decades of careful negotiation for blunt force. Both nations now face economic uncertainty and diplomatic hostility. The framework that defined North American prosperity is at risk. The stakes have never been higher. The day began with a tweet by morning. It was official. Citing Section 301 of the Trade Act, the White House announced a 35% tariff on all Canadian imports, effective in 30 days. The justification: decades of alleged unfair Canadian trade practices. Markets plunged, Dow down 800 points, the Canadian dollar at a decade low, Toronto's exchange halted. In Ottawa, Trudeau called the move unacceptable and promised swift retaliation. Provincial leaders united behind the federal government. The tariff covers everything: oil, vehicles, machinery, wood, and more. For Americans, prices on cars, homes, and groceries will soar. For Canadians, their largest export market is suddenly out of reach. The countdown to economic upheaval has begun. Both sides brace for impact. Ottawa is in crisis mode. The mood in the capital is tense, with lights burning late into the night as officials scramble to respond to the escalating trade dispute. The sense of urgency is palpable, echoing through the halls of Parliament and government offices as leaders weigh their options. the government is urgently drafting a package of retaliatory tariffs, zeroing in on U.S. products that hit close to home for American lawmakers: bourbon from Kentucky, Florida oranges, and key agricultural exports from the Midwest. These choices are strategic, designed to create political pressure in Washington by targeting industries with powerful lobbies and vocal constituents. The aim is clear: force U.S. lawmakers to feel the heat from their own voters and push back against the White House's aggressive trade stance. Ottawa hopes that by hitting where it hurts, it can spark a debate in Congress and shift the political calculus. Meanwhile, legal teams are working around the clock, preparing formal challenges under the USMCA and at the World Trade Organization. Their goal is to prove that the US is violating both the spirit and the letter of international trade law, and to rally support from other nations who fear similar treatment. Diplomats are fanning out across the globe, meeting with allies and partners to build a united front. They argue that this isn't just a bilateral spat. It's a direct threat to the rules-based global trading system that underpins prosperity for many nations. At home, the government is preparing emergency aid packages for the industries and workers most at risk: auto manufacturing, steel production, and forestry. These sectors are the backbone of many communities, and the government knows that swift support is essential to prevent layoffs and economic hardship. No aid package can fully absorb the shock of a trade war, but Ottawa is determined to build an economic shield. Financial officials are working on stimulus measures, tax relief, and support for affected businesses, all while reassuring the public that the government is acting decisively. Canada's message to the world is simple: this isn't just our fight. The integrity of the global trading system is at stake, and Canada is calling on its allies to stand together in defense of fair and open commerce. The hope is to form a broad coalition, uniting countries that depend on stable trade to collectively pressure Washington to reconsider its actions. By joining forces, they aim to amplify their voices and increase their leverage. It's a long shot, and the path forward is uncertain, but every option is on the table. From legal battles to diplomatic maneuvers, Ottawa is determined to fight on every front. As the crisis deepens, officials are working around the clock, leaving no stone unturned in their search for solutions. The sense of national purpose is strong, uniting politicians, civil servants, and citizens alike. The stakes could not be higher. This is about national economic survival. The decisions made in Ottawa tonight will shape Canada's future for years to come. The economic fallout is immediate and severe. In the heart of North America's financial centers, uncertainty spreads like wildfire. The shockwaves ripple through every sector, from Wall Street to Main Street, as leaders scramble to respond to a crisis that few saw coming. For Americans, inflation is coming. Cars, homes, groceries, all more expensive. Everyday essentials are suddenly out of reach for many families. Shoppers find themselves making tough choices at the checkout, while the dream of homeownership slips further away for countless households. The cost of living crisis deepens and anxiety grows. The Federal Reserve faces rising prices and a potential slowdown. Policymakers are caught between the need to control inflation and the risk of stalling economic growth. Interest rates become a double-edged sword, threatening to choke off recovery even as they try to stabilize the dollar. For Canada, the US market, 75% of exports, is suddenly closed. The lifeline of Canadian industry is severed overnight, leaving businesses scrambling to find new buyers and reroute shipments. The shock is immediate and profound. Industries face existential crisis. Energy projects halted, auto plants at risk, recession looming. Thousands of workers are sent home, uncertain if their jobs will ever return. Communities built around these industries brace for a wave of unemployment and hardship. Integrated supply chains are shattered. A single car's journey now faces costly roadblocks at every border crossing. Delays mount, parts pile up in warehouses, and production lines grind to a halt. The intricate web that once connected North American manufacturing is now tangled in red tape and tariffs. Companies must absorb costs or overhaul supply chains. Both options mean delays, shutdowns, and job losses. The pressure mounts on business leaders to adapt quickly, but the path forward is uncertain and fraught with risk. Markets reflect the chaos, stocks plunge, investors flee to safety, the Canadian dollar tumbles. The financial sector reels as confidence evaporates, and the value of investments plummets overnight. US exporters will also suffer as Canada retaliates. Farmers, manufacturers, and small businesses across America find their goods stranded at the border with no buyers and mounting losses. The pain is shared on both sides. The pain is cyclical. Financial instability deepens real-world damage. As businesses close and jobs disappear, consumer spending drops, feeding a vicious cycle of decline that threatens to spiral out of control. The North American economic engine is sputtering. Once bustling industrial zones now stand eerily quiet, their future uncertain as the crisis drags on. The feedback loop of crisis is underway. Each setback triggers another, compounding the damage and making recovery ever more difficult. The consequences will be felt for years. The scars left by this economic earthquake will shape the lives of millions, altering the trajectory of North America's future in ways we are only beginning to understand. Beyond headlines, real people are caught in the crossfire. In Windsor, an auto worker fears her plant will close as cross-border parts grind to a halt. In Buffalo, a logistics company faces layoffs as shipping volume collapses. On a Saskatchewan farm, a grain grower worries he can't sell his harvest. In Arizona, a home builder must tell families their dream is now out of reach as lumber prices soar. For thousands, this isn't politics, it's survival. The human cost is mounting. Experts agree. This tariff is a sledgehammer to North American manufacturing. Decades of supply chain integration can't be undone overnight. It will take years and billions with permanent loss of competitiveness. US jobs won't return. Many will vanish as plants lose access to Canadian parts. Canada may try to diversify trade, but no market matches the US for scale or proximity. The immediate future chaos, shortages, and higher prices for consumers. Companies scramble for alternatives, but specialized parts can't be replaced quickly. Supply chain disruption is the new normal. The region's economic edge is eroding. Consumers will pay the price. This trade war sends a chilling message to the world. If America can target its closest ally, no partnership is safe. Allies question US reliability. Adversaries like China and Russia see opportunity in Western division. The crisis weakens US leverage in global negotiations and undermines the rules-based order America once championed. Within North America, trust is shattered. Even if tariffs are reversed, the damage to goodwill may last generations. Canada will rethink its dependence on the US. The world's most successful partnership may never fully recover. The legacy of this conflict will echo for decades. The cost is more than economic. It's a wound to the very idea of alliance. North America stands at a crossroads. The next 30 days will decide the fate of a $2 billion a day partnership. Will diplomacy prevail, or will this become a long, destructive trade war? Millions of jobs and the prosperity of both nations hang in the balance. This is more than tariffs. It's about the future of a relationship built on trust. The choices made now will shape our continent for generations. We'll keep you updated as the story unfolds. Thank you for watching, and share your thoughts below.